As the temperature dips and the snow begins to blanket our gardens, it might seem like a strange time to think about gardening. But winter sowing allows us to use the cold months to our advantage and kickstart the gardening journey. What exactly is winter sowing? In a nutshell, it's a planting seeds outside in a controlled enclosure to get a head start on seed germination before spring comes and we are normally able to plant outside. There are a variety of ways to get the job done. Starting from the most expensive, you could use an actual greenhouse. The next option would be a cold frame. A cold frame uses the ground or raised garden bed you would normally be planting in. It's a movable structure generally made out of wood and glass, such as an old window hanged on a wooden frame. The jug method, the cheapest of the methods, also mimics a greenhouse, but takes it even further than the cold frame, as it encapsulates the soil medium and airspace that we're planting in. You take a used plastic vessel, like a milk jug or large soda bottle, cut it in half, put soil in the bottom, plant some seeds, and tape it back up. Another way that sort of combines the milk jug and the cold frame is to use a see-through tote or tub. We're using plastic jugs because of the translucent or transparent medium. It allows light to penetrate but keeps heat from escaping. We throw away the lid of the jug because that is how we are letting both air and moisture into the little greenhouse. Grab your jug and 4 to 6 inches above the bottom, cut the jug all the way around, but leave a small section so that it's still attached, about a ½ inch or so. We'll now poke holes in the bottom of the jug. We want these to be as large as you see as planters or 4-inch pots. We're making the holes for drainage so the soil doesn't stay too wet. We could use a knife, drill, or hot nail. Just make sure to make it big enough. Now fill the container with well-draining soil. I like to use a combo of half seedling mix that I make and half raised bed soil from the nursery. Just don't use your native soil from your garden. The new environment might be the perfect recipe to wake up sleeping creatures that will ruin your greenhouse. Plant in the containers as your seed needs. I broadcast smaller seeds like poppies and forget-me-nots to encourage a lot of germination. Bigger seeds, and therefore more expensive seeds, will be planted as the packet says. Tape your jug shut and put it outside. Put it somewhere it will get sun and moisture from the weather. Keep an eye on the moisture and pour in a few ounces if the soil seems too dry. It should maintain itself unless you have an exceptionally dry winter. When picking seeds to sow, there's a wide range of variety to choose from, and what will work for me might not work for you, and vice versa. The top choice is always going to be plants that are perennial to your area. Perennial plants are designed for the winter stratification process that we're exploiting with our winter sowing techniques. Popular perennials in my area, and maybe yours, are echinacea, lavender, yarrow, columbine, and lupin. Just because perennials are the top choice, you shouldn't sleep on hardy annuals. Annuals that regularly self-sow in your area and bloom in spring are a great choice. If the annual is a cold variant, then you increase your chances that much more when you are trying to winter sow. Plants like calendula, bachelor buttons, poppies, snapdragons can excel in this setup. As a general rule of thumb, stick to plants that are either native to your area or hardy enough that you're confident that they can survive outdoors during your shoulder season. All tender seeds should be avoided. Things that need consistent soil heat, like tomatoes, peppers, squash, and sunflowers, should be avoided. You could potentially have success with these plants, but it won't be until later and closer to the spring season. So obviously, we haven't been growing in plastic jugs for very long. In fact, Trudy Davidoff is credited with the creation in the 21st century. She, along with the USDA, set out and proved this method back in the year 2000. Before then, gardeners were either gardening inside during the winter or utilizing a greenhouse or cold frame. If winter sowing as we understand it today is only 20 years old, how old are greenhouses? Pliny the Elder wrote of ancient Roman Emperor Tiberius's declining health and him being prescribed to eat cucumbers, a tender plant. To overcome the difficulties of growing cucumbers out of season, they would plant them in wheeled carts to wheel them in the sun's path during the day and inside during the night. The year was 30 BC, and the Romans had more or less invented the cold frame. In the 15th century, Korea would be the first to make greenhouses a permanent structure with temperature and humidity control. The concept caught on in the West at the turn of the 17th century. In the 19th century, the Industrial Revolution allowed for more materials to be made cheaper and faster, and the status required to own and operate an orangery, glasshouse, or greenhouse was no longer locked to the upper echelons. All around the world, more people were able to build them and grow plants through the winter. Fast forward today, they are cheap enough materials out there to DIY a greenhouse, or you can buy one off the internet and have a kit shipped right to your door. Or more conveniently, you can cut your old milk jugs in half and plant inside of those. Give it a try yourself and let me know the results.